All right, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. The topic is keyword hierarchy, specifically using keywords to structure your site's targeting from the very top to the very bottom. So let's go through an agenda of what we're going to talk about today. First, we will obviously introduce ourselves, and then we're going to go through the theory of keyword hierarchy and why it's important. And after that, we're going to take a step back a little bit and talk through some of the fundamentals in terms of doing keyword research for your website. Now, after that, we will take this keyword hierarchy approach and put it into practice and show you a couple of examples. But then we're also going to take care of some of those what-if scenarios, because there's obviously not a one-size-fits-all approach to this. And then after that, we'll wrap things up with Q&A. But of course, if you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and submit them to us, and we'll be happy to address a few of them if we can, and then get them organized for the end of the webinar. So let's get started. So my name is Jacob King. I'm an SEO team lead here at Volusion. I've been working here for about 5 years, and I've been working in online marketing for about 6.5 years.
Hey everybody, my name is Katie Seek, and I'm also an SEO team lead. I've been at Volusion for about 2.5 years and working with online marketing for about 8.
You got me beat. All right.
Excited to be here.
Let's go ahead and jump into keyword hierarchy and talk a little bit about what it is. So keyword hierarchy really focuses on structuring your keyword targeting from broad terms down to the very specific ones. And when I'm explaining this to a customer or one of the clients that I'm working with, I encourage them to think of a website as if it were a pyramid. And your home page is the top of that pyramid. Now, there's not a lot of space to fill the top of that pyramid with all sorts of keyword phrases, so you need to disperse those keywords down the pyramid to the more foundational parts of it. So the idea here is that you want to use keyword phrases to align with the natural shopping process. So if someone is doing a more informational search, maybe they're just doing a little bit of research, we would want our keywords to send them to the top of that pyramid. So for example, let's say we have a website that sells men's designer clothing. That's a fairly broad term. It's specific but fairly broad. So I would likely want to send them to the top of my pyramid, to my home page. But if they get really specific with their search query and they're looking for a men's black button-down shirt, that's much more specific and should be sent down to the bottom of the pyramid where our product pages live. And the reason why this is important is that search engines really love an organized keyword targeting approach. They want to be able to come to your website and scan it and understand which keywords apply to which pages or which products and how it all fits together into a puzzle. We'll go into some more specifics about why this is important for SEO, but this is just the general idea of keyword hierarchy.
So let's take a look at the theory behind keyword hierarchy, the why behind the structured targeting. Here's the idea. Every page of your site should have its own unique set of keywords that make it clear why that page is different from the others on your site. So for example, your home page will have broad keywords that encompass your business as a whole, while a category page will have keywords that describe the products in that category. The keywords on a product page will be specific only to that single product. Both search engines and customers will be better able to understand and navigate your site if it's structured logically, which will really help your site's overall SEO performance. Ultimately, making your website good for search engines is about making your users happy. If your site is well organized with logical keywords, search engines will be able to navigate it with ease and to show it in relevant searches. In turn, customers will come to your site and find what they're looking for quickly and easily. And once that happens, you'll get those conversions. Let's go into some more detail on this. So taking a look at why it's important to have this structure for customers. When a customer lands on your website, there should be clear options for them to easily find what they're looking for, whether they land on your home page, a category page, or a product page. If your site has a convoluted targeting, your shoppers aren't going to find what they need, and consequently, your conversions will drop. Within the e-commerce world, there's plenty of competition out there. Customers know that they can probably find what they're looking for somewhere else, So if they can't find it quickly on your site, it won't take long for them to go to another one. If the organization of your site makes sense, your customers will fluidly move from one page to another without having to put too much thought into it. This will keep them on your site for longer and get them to those product pages more easily where they can make a purchase. Search engines can also figure out sites that deliver a good user experience based on how long users are staying on your site and how often they're coming back for more than one visit. So your customer's experience is directly connected to the search engine's relationship with your site. Let's take a look at why this structure is important for search engines. So search engines are robots, and therefore they love order. They can't visually see your website, so they rely on text to find their way. You're relying on search engines to prioritize your site above others when a customer makes that search query. Don't trust your search engines to make any assumptions or fill in any gaps when it comes to your site's structure and content. You're not quite that advanced yet. If your site has a convoluted targeting or structure, search engines are going to give that site lower priority, and consequently your site could show up for fewer searches, meaning your conversions may drop. If you've got a clear structure, it'll be easy for search engines to understand what your site is about, and more likely they'll include it higher in search results so users can find it. So keyword hierarchy isn't just important for the structure of your site, it's also a critical component for your site's overall SEO performance.
All right, so now that we've basically explained it all in a nutshell, let's look at it in practice a little bit. So we have that pyramid here again, and let's imagine that you run a website that sells women's designer shoes. That's a more broad term that's kind of all-encompassing of what your website is about. So it makes sense to have that keyword structured at the top of your pyramid, which represents your homepage here in the light blue color. Now, as we work our way down to some of our category level pages, in this case, your yellow section of the pyramid, it's likely that we want to get more specific about what types of designer shoes we have for women. Maybe we're trying to target people that are looking for formal or casual. Now, if we get even a little bit more specific and move into the red section, which could be subcategories of your website, we can see we're getting even more specific in terms of what kind of designer shoes we're talking about. Maybe people are searching for women's pump heels or designer flats. Now, the bulk of our keywords and where a lot of this structure lies is in the foundation represented here in the purple, and that represents your product pages. At this point, we're trying to target people that are looking for very specific products. So those red 3-inch pumps or those striped pink bow ballet flats. So you can see here visually how all of these words move from the top of the pyramid and start expanding out and out the more specific we get to a particular product page. And this is how you naturally follow that shopping process for your customers. So we've talked a little bit about keyword hierarchy in theory and how it works, but let's take a step back and talk about keyword research as a whole, because keyword research leads to good structure for keyword targeting on your website. So whenever we are talking about keyword research with clients that we work with personally, we focus on what's called the keyword trinity. And this is used within the SEO industry to measure the viability of any kind of keyword phrase that you might be researching. So we'll go into detail on these three sections here coming right up. So we might answer some of your questions in just a minute, but to introduce you to these ideas, the first thing we look at when we are trying to research particular keyword phrases is search volume, which is exactly what it sounds like. It means, on average, how often per month are web users searching for this particular phrase. Obviously, a keyword that has a higher search volume is more popular with your customers, whereas one that doesn't have very high search volume might not be as popular. The second thing that we look at is kind of the flip side of that. It's the competitiveness of that keyword. So how many other websites out there like yours are trying to optimize for this particular keyword, whether it's through products that they sell, the way that their site is structured, the categories that they have. And we want to find a keyword that has a healthy dose of competition, because it lets us know that we are on the right track and we're optimizing for phrases that are important to the industry. Now, the last thing is relevancy. You can have great search volume and great keyword competitiveness, but if the keyword you're looking at isn't relevant to the page in question, then it doesn't make any difference. Relevancy is the name of the game here. It's what we're really going for, to make sure that search engines and customers know that when they come to a particular page by searching for whatever it is that they need, they're going to find exactly what they wanted. So let's go ahead and dive into each one of these factors of the keyword trinity.
So looking at the first component, search volume. Are potential customers actually searching for the phrase? Your keywords should be selected based on what users are already searching for. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel here, just use what's already getting traffic. The keywords you choose shouldn't be super popular, as those are going to be harder to optimize for on site. But that being said, they shouldn't be really obscure either. If they're super rare, that means no one's searching for them right now, so it's not going to do much for your site getting traffic. It's all about balance. You want to find a keyword phrase that's got a good amount of volume, but not too much. One of my favorite tools to find search volume is called Google Keyword Planner. We'll show you a list of tools in a few slides, and we've also got a resource section at the end so you can get more information there.
So we've looked at volume, now let's look at competitiveness. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, competitiveness is measuring how many other websites like yours might be optimizing for this particular keyword phrase. And we know that looking at competition tells us if we are on the right track in terms of keywords that we are trying to optimize for ourselves. Another thing that's really great about competitiveness is that it lets us know if there are important industry phrases we might not have considered before, or just taking a simple visual tour around a competitor's website lets you know if there are ways you had not considered segmenting those keywords. We'll get into an example that shows keyword segmentation, but essentially competitiveness allows us to fall in line with the way things are working now and find those keywords that have good viability within the industry. A couple of tools that I really like to use for measuring competitiveness are SpyFu and Ahrefs, and we'll talk more about those tools. And then, as Katie said, we have that resource section at the end. But those are really good ones in determining which competitors out there are already trying to optimize for particular phrases.
So let's take a look at the third component of this keyword trilogy, keyword relevancy. In the end, no amount of data matters if your keyword isn't relevant to the page or doesn't match the searcher's intent. I've had instances where a certain phrase keeps appearing in my keyword research, and while that phrase may make sense for a page, doing a Google search on it shows that it was actually the name of a competing brand. So in these cases, although the phrase may technically be relevant to the page, you're probably not going to show up for that in a search because it doesn't match your searcher's intent. Also, in terms of relevancy, you want to be specific. Every page of your site is unique, so the keywords for it should be specific to that page and only that page. The more detailed you can narrow things down, the better. So depending on your product, you can specify by color, by size, quantity, whatever makes sense for your business.
Yeah, one thing that I've run into in the past is websites that have to deal with maybe regional slang or jargon, things that might not mean the same thing in different parts of the U.S.
Yeah, that reminds me, I once had a bakery client, and they sold sprinkles on their website, which in certain geographical areas are called jimmies. So we actually optimize for both those terms on the page. Another thing to keep in mind with relevancy is avoiding deception. So even if you do get more users to a page of your site using a mismatched keyword, those users aren't likely to stay long if they feel they've been tricked into getting there. If you're not sure whether a keyword phrase is relevant, try searching for it and looking at the sites that show up. Ask yourself if your page fits into that group. And just a reminder to everybody, again, feel free to send in questions as we go through, and we can get to those at the end.
So we've talked through that keyword trinity and how it functions as the basis of your keyword research. But when you're performing research in general, we want you to keep a few things in mind. The first one is you should try and target longer phrases whenever possible. Within the SEO industry, we call these long tail phrases. The general idea here is that any keyword that's under 3 words is likely too short for what you're trying to achieve. Now, for example, running shoes. It's a great keyword, super popular. I'm sure there's plenty of websites out there trying to optimize for it, but you can get lost in the shuffle with something that broad. So by just adding one more word to that, maybe orthopedic running shoes, or running shoes for men, or running shoes for flat-footed people, whatever it might be, we're opening up the door for more specific searches, and we're becoming more targeted in our approach. Another thing is don't fixate on search volume. It can get really, really tempting to go after those words that have hundreds of thousands of hits every single month. But that doesn't mean that the keyword phrase is going to be what we need for the page. This kind of piggybacks a bit off of targeting longer phrases. There is a lot of value in going after specific phrases and trying to corner the market on a particular term. That gives you a higher likelihood of showing up in search results because there's bound to be less competition, and you're going to get higher conversions as a result. Now, the last one is something that we emphasize in the keyword research that we do for clients all the time, and this is targeting 3 to 5 keywords per page. If you think about it, and you sit down and you look at your website and you look at the products that you sell, there are probably only a few different ways that you can describe individual products or groupings of products. So 3 to 5 keywords we feel allows you enough wiggle room to be descriptive about what it is that's on this page without diluting the purpose of it. So by that I mean targeting 10, 12, 15 keywords. When you do that, you're not sending a very clear and concise signal to Google as to which terms are important for the page. And also, you potentially miss out on an opportunity to use another keyword in a different section of your website.
Yeah, I remember the days of keyword stuffing when you just put as many keywords as possible onto a page. Definitely want to avoid doing that now, as that'll be a red flag for search engines.
Yeah, those were the Wild West days of SEO. So.
Right. So let's take a look at how to actually perform your keyword research. We know it sounds really simple, but starting your keyword list with a Google search helps you see what terms and segmentations Google's already recommending to searchers. Here you can see we here at Volusion love running shoes. This automatic drop-down list of options includes some localized results for running shoes for medical reasons, plantar fasciitis, for men, for women. You've got a lot of different ideas on how to approach a keyword list. So check the results you see in Google to make sure you're on the right track and getting the most relevant terms. You might have something in mind, but double checking your list this way can confirm that it matches what you're offering. So as you move into the meat of your keyword research, there are a few tools we'd recommend trying out. None of these tools are perfect. They all serve different purposes, and you want to use them in addition to your own industry knowledge and intuition. So for generating initial lists, I really like using keyword.io or SEO Book Keyword Generator. There's also Ubersuggest, which aggregates all the information you'd find by looking at Google's suggestions. And if you're looking to get into the more nitty-gritty details like rank history or competitor comparisons, as Jacob mentioned earlier, you can turn to tools like SpyFu and Ahrefs. For some of these tools, you'll just enter 1 or 2 words, while for others, like Google Keyword Planner, you can enter dozens of phrases. There are a lot of options when it comes to keyword tools, so try them out for yourself. We do recommend using at least a couple different tools, though, so you can check your data that you're not relying on just one for everything.
All right, so we've done the legwork, we have the keyword research. How are we going to implement it on our website? So Volusion has a lot of really convenient built-in features on category and product pages that you can use to emphasize the important keywords for your page. And this list here on the right shows all of those areas that we regularly optimize as SEO specialists. So I'm going to show you just a couple of screenshots to emphasize where these are if you're not aware. They're within the Advanced Info tab on any category or product page, and then you would just click on Search Engine Optimization. You can see here this is for a category page. That top graphic shows us the 3 main areas we'd recommend optimizing. Category URL text being the opportunity to optimize that URL field so that customers know they're landing on the correct page if it appears in the search result. The 2 other important pieces of information there, the meta tag title or title tag, and the meta tag description, or we sometimes call those just meta descriptions. These two fields are used to generate those search results page lists. The first one, the title tag, is much more short and succinct. It's treated exactly like what it sounds like, a title of the page, an introduction to what customers can expect to find on that page. Search engines look at this field pretty significantly to determine what your page is about, what keywords are important for this particular page, and what they can expect to find if they were to click on it themselves. Whereas the meta tag description is a little bit more of an elevator pitch. It's conversational, it's written in complete sentences. This is your opportunity to talk about product benefits, maybe mention any kind of shipping promos you might have, discounts that you're running, anything that you can use to encourage customers to click on your listing as opposed to anybody else's. The next field that we optimize is the category description field. And with this field, it's going to generate straight text onto the website at the top of any landing page for a category. The idea here is that we use this field to reinforce those keywords naturally through complete sentences and paragraphs. What we're trying to do here is reinforce to search engines that this page is about what they expected it to be when they scanned the website for keywords. And for customers, we want to answer any kind of questions they might have about products, emphasize how products work or product benefits, and again, use those keywords to make sure that they've landed on the right page. So looking at this on a product page level, the information here is almost exactly the same. The only difference is we have another field called the photo alt text field. Now we use this field to give product pages a little bit of a boost if they are going to show up in an image-based search, if you've ever clicked on that, image search when you're doing the Google search or any other search engine. And the idea here is that you just want to be plainly descriptive about what the product is. We encourage people to use the photo alt text field as if they were describing the product to someone who's visually impaired.
So we've covered the theory of keyword hierarchy as well as some of the basics and the how-to. Let's take a look at some do's and don'ts with examples to illustrate what we mean. So for some keyword hierarchy do's, you'll want to be choosing broad, long-tailed keywords for your home page and for your top category pages. The keywords on these pages should encompass your site overall. These can be used as the basis for lower-level pages. So for instance, if you run a site that sells makeup, you'd optimize the homepage for more general makeup terms that apply to your store, and then you go into more and more detail the further down you go, using those broad terms as a jumping off point for the more specific pages. You also want to assign a keyword to one page and one page only. As we said, every page of your site is unique, so the keywords for it should be as well. And lastly, make sure you're distinguishing between the product group keywords versus the single product keyword. So in this example, we've got men's V-neck shirt. This could be a keyword phrase for one of your category pages, while men's baby blue V-neck shirt could be one for a specific product page within that category. So you'll want to just get as specific as you can. Let's look at an example here. So clearly defined category structure is going to help segment your keyword group. In this example, these top-level categories that are shown in that blue box of the screenshot are divided into general groupings. This gives search engines and customers a clear overview of your site and where they can go to find what they're looking for. So let's go one step further on the same site. Once your site has that logical top category structure, then you're ready to segment keyword groups and to identify subsets of those keyword groups. So in the screenshot here, you can see that by hovering over that top category, processing, a number of subcategory options drop down within it. These subcategories help begin the categorization of your product pages. By structuring your site this way, it allows us to naturally organize product pages within the appropriate category and to assign logical keyword phrases to each one. So let's take this same site one step further. We can now organize those subcategories. So in this instance, we've got different types of grinders and secondary grinder parts. From here, the next step would be that product level where you would specify details like the make, the model, and the material. And this level of segmentation doesn't necessarily apply to every site, but it's just an example of how deep you can go. These are designed to show that when you naturally segment your product, you open it up to selecting the most logical keywords for your website.
So let's talk about the flip side of this, some things that you shouldn't do when you're approaching keyword hierarchy. As Katie said, every page, the keywords that are on it should be specific to that page. So you should not target the same keyword phrase on every page of your website. The reason being, as we said before, search engines cannot visually see your website, at least not yet. So they rely on text cues to let them know what every page of your website is about. If you use the phrase running shoes on every single page of your website, you're essentially telling search engines that all of these pages include the same information. Thus, they can't prioritize what's most important, and they can't figure out which page is most relevant to a search query from a customer. As Katie said as well, make sure that you're targeting category and product level keywords appropriately. So don't target a product level keyword at the category level or vice versa. In her example, we had men's V-neck shirts, which is a more broad term, more appropriate for a category page, whereas men's baby blue V-neck shirt is product specific and makes more sense on a specific product page itself. Now, I have some examples coming up here that will illustrate my next 2 points, but the first one is important, and it's that you shouldn't stop halfway through the process. So if you've done a good job of picking keywords for your top level pages, your category pages, keep it going all the way down to subcategories and specific products. Search engines are looking for that logical flow from homepage down to specific product page. And we want to make sure that we have pages optimized with keywords as such. And then lastly, don't assume that search engines are going to be able to figure it out. Let's say you open a website just yesterday and you just started putting your products on there. Search engines don't understand the context of your website yet. They need those cues to tell them where to go and what's important and why. So don't leave it to nature. Take the time to actually intervene and put those keywords in place. So let's take a few examples of some hierarchy don'ts. I mentioned stopping halfway. Now these are broad categories, but it at least gives us a general idea of what can be expected if we were to click on any of these categories here at the top. So let's go ahead and click on men's shoes. Now, when we click on men's shoes, we're getting in the right direction. We have natural segmentation of products, which also means we're naturally segmenting our keyword lists as well between casual, dress shoes, sneakers, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and click on casual shoes. But when I click on casual shoes, this is where the keyword segmentation stops. We have all sorts of casual shoes, all lumped into one main category. And you could argue that someone who's searching for boat style shoes, like the ones there in the second image, are not the same people who might be searching for slip-ons or, high top sneakers.
That's right. I wouldn't be searching for slip-on shoes if I wanted to find high top sneakers.
Exactly. So here we have an example of a website that almost got there, but didn't take it one step far enough. The other one that I wanted to point out is don't expect search engines to figure out the products on your website. So in this example here, the only optimization this landing page has done is the word Adidas, which we obviously know means so much. It could be running apparel, it could be shoes, it could be basketball sneakers, it could be hats, it could be any number of things under the Adidas brand. But aside from having a few product titles here, we're not sending any clear signals to Adidas that this is a landing page for primarily sneakers, or that they can click onto maybe a subcategory to look at Adidas track jackets. So in this page, there has been no optimization done to show Google the way.
So the advice we've given so far has fit most e-commerce websites, but what do you do if your site is unique? We're going to launch now into a few examples of sites that are a little bit different and how you can put this strategy to work to improve your sites in those cases. So let's take one scenario if you sell just one product. In this case, you would shift your keyword focus to describing and explaining every aspect of that product. We like to think of questions that your customers are regularly asking about the product and to use those as a basis for informational keyword research. For example, if you sell hemp sneakers, you might write about how you can clean hemp shoes, or maybe the benefits of hemp shoes compared to other materials. These informational pages aren't necessarily going to have products on them, but they will help you capture user search queries made on those subjects and bring users to your website. Another example could be if you sell eco-friendly sandwich bags, your customer base might be interested in environmental topics like how to cut down on food waste. Use the questions you get from customers to create content that will draw visitors to your website. And as a bonus, you'll also establish your brand as a credible authority within your industry. Let's look at an example of what we mean. So this site sells just one type of product, rice and rice grits. As you can see, they've got this main rice and grits category, as well as bulk rice and gift categories. So that's where the bulk of their products are. But we've also got informational content under the recipes and the blog categories. Recipes are a natural way for the site to add valuable content and also provide customers with some inspiration on using their products. And then the blog can include a wide range of topics around the product, like maybe the health benefits of eating rice or the process of farming rice.
Or drying out your smartphone in rice after you dropped it in water.
Exactly. You can really get creative here. These are great ways to draw visitors to your website.
So let's assume maybe you sell a lot of really similar products. Well, then it becomes a process of figuring out ways that you can naturally segment beyond just make and model. So consider maybe different colors or styles. Let's say that you have a website that sells nursing scrubs. You could naturally segment those nursing scrubs based on whether they're solid colored or include patterns throughout the design. Or maybe you sell t-shirts and it comes down to making slight variations between the two. You could segment by the type of collar on the shirt, for example, crew neck versus V-neck, or even scoop neck if you sell that type. But one of my favorites is looking at different applications for the product. One of our specialists actually works with a battery website. So you can imagine that beyond the make and model of the battery, there's not a lot going on in terms of keyword targeting. But this website has smartly considered the way that their batteries are used. So they actually do have categories for batteries for scooters versus batteries for wheelchairs, or batteries for any kind of small appliances. So by looking at it this way, you open up your keyword targeting to a variety of different searches that people might be conducting. Let's look at an example. This website here sells Legos. And aside from mentioning the name Legos, there's not a lot of ways that you can describe Legos. So they've smartly split up their website's organization in terms of theme, categories, etc. So by themes, you would find these Star Wars Legos, for example. But if we were to click on categories, we arrive at this page, which naturally organizes the different products that they carry into some general topics. Maybe you're just searching for airplane Legos, or you're just searching for train Legos for your child who's really interested in trains, or buildings to add to your design. Now, by using this sort of structure, we're targeting more broad terms. We're bringing in people that are maybe a little bit higher up that pyramid before they're ready to make a purchase.
And just to be super clear, these categories will click through to a landing page, and that's where you'll optimize that page for these specific topics like airplanes or preschool.
Correct. So another thing that they've done really well is they've opened up their keyword targeting to a different type of search query by using age range. There are certainly pieces of Legos that we want to keep out of the hands of infants and small toddlers because they could swallow them and hurt themselves. So we can naturally segment our products by age range here. Maybe some children who are on the older side, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, we might be looking for keywords that talk about introducing them to concepts of architecture or building those cognitive abilities. Whatever it might be, by targeting by age range, we're opening up those keywords to more of those informational searches, which kind of ties into what Katie was talking about with the rice example.
So let's look at one last scenario of if you have a unique website and you sell in a specialized industry. Specialized industries often have limited edition products that sell out and never replenish. In these cases, you want to make your product information as concise as possible. So one example of this could be having a wholesale store. In this case, you're not trying to attract the same type of customer as other e-commerce stores. Wholesale customers usually know exactly what they want. In this case, you want to include your model numbers in the product information, since customers may search specifically for those. Another example of a specialized industry is an e-cigarette store. It's common within the e-cigarette industry to make certain products like batches of e-liquid that are sold and then never made again. So rather than optimize for the products themselves in these cases, because they're so short-lived, you can focus on optimizing the category pages for those types of products. So like lemon lime vape juice or the other examples listed here. Let's look at an example of what we mean. So here's an e-cigarette website. And as you can see at the top, that flavoring category is divided into main branded categories. That's the bold text, the Capellas, Flavor West, Liquid Barn. And within each of those, you've got the flavor subcategories. So each of these will click through to a landing page where you optimize specifically for that term. And this means there's a lot of opportunity for optimization using really specific keywords. One last example here, it's another e-cigarette website, and this one divides their e-liquid category into subcategory divisions of brand, size, and type. So again, you're able to capture all those search queries. This is a really great way to get traffic from a wide range of keywords around your product.
So by doing it this way, we are opening up our keyword targeting to people that might just be in that exploratory phase. Maybe they know they like a thinner vape liquid that's higher in propylene glycol, or they prefer a thick one that's higher in vegetable glycerin. By organizing and creating landing pages for these types of keywords, we're broadening that base, and that's the idea here. So that leads us to some takeaways for this. I know that was a lot to take in, and keyword hierarchy still might be a little bit confusing, but remember to think of your website like a pyramid, with the bulk of those keywords living at the base of the pyramid. Your homepage is at the top, and as we start to go down to the base, we're allowing ourselves more opportunities to spread keywords out to subcategories and particular products. Organization of keywords is vital here. Organizing them concisely across the site with relevant phrases in a single location will send a very concise signal to search engines so they know exactly what each page of your site is about and who they should show it to in terms of search queries. But overall, structure leads to clarity. Clarity for search engines, clarity for customers so that they know what's on your pages and how they can get around. And those things are important for SEO health, be it improving the customer experience and getting them to stay on your site longer, and also search engines trusting that your website has what they need to show to customers that are making a search query.
And that's all we've got for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to continue sending in your questions. And while we're waiting on those, we wanted to let you know about a special promotion we've got going on right now. Through the end of this month, when you get an SEO package with us, we will waive your setup fee. And as an added bonus, if you order by tomorrow, you'll get a 3-pack graphic add-on. These are custom designed graphics that can go on your homepage slider, on category pages, newsletters, wherever you want. This is a really great offer, so be sure to take advantage.
All right, so we will leave this slide up for just a few minutes while we answer a couple of questions. Please keep sending those questions in. Here's one. Should meta descriptions be keyword rich? Search engines don't use the meta description for any kind of ranking factor. Certainly including those keywords in a meta description will make it clear to customers as to what your page is about, but it doesn't have any impact on whether or not you're going to appear in position 5 versus position 2. So in those instances, you should really focus more on describing the page, describing the benefits of shopping with your website. Maybe you have free shipping, maybe you ship within the same day, maybe you have hassle-free returns, whatever it might be. Encourage those people to click on your listing over another one.
Another question we've got here, how often should you use each keyword on a page? So we've instead, we recommend using 3 to 5 keywords per page, and we would say use each of those keywords once within the text on your page. So that's just directly what's on the page. You've also got, as Jacob covered, the keywords that you use in your URL and your title tag, but just in terms of putting it on the page so that when you view that page on your site, that's the text you see there. Just once for each of those phrases should do it.
All right, let's see here. Can I reuse keywords from one page to the next? As we said, it's really vital to make sure that we select a keyword and keep it in one page only on the website. This kind of piggybacks into what we described when we said slight variations of products, which also answers another question that we have here. Can I use part of the same keyword in each product? I sell topographical mugs, and each page's keyword includes that phrase with a modifier. This is how you can work your way through this issue of if you have only so many ways to describe the products that you sell. Even by adding that modifier, you are in essence creating a different keyword phrase. You're creating a level of specificity for the page. So like I said, if you only sell t-shirts, think of the ways that each t-shirt is different. Is this one blue versus navy blue? Is this one purple versus a shade of violet or lilac or whatever it might be? But at its root, a keyword should only be used in one place on your website.
So another question we've got here, when you say 3 to 5 keywords per page, is that on a category page, a product page, or both? And that is on every page of your website. So category pages included, product pages, home page, any informational pages you've got, like we discussed, just whatever page it is, you want to make sure you've got 3 to 5 unique keyword phrases for that page.
And that's not a hard and fast rule. That's the best practice coming from us directly. Certainly, you're not going to be doing yourself any harm if you have to choose 6 keywords, for example. But the idea being is that you want to be specific and just choose a handful at a time. Like I said earlier, that allows you to use some other keywords in different areas on your website. Let's see here. I've heard that the meta keyword tag isn't that important. Should I put keywords in the title tag and meta description instead? You are correct. A long time ago, at the very beginning of search engines, the only way that they were able to tell what a website was about and what it should rank for was how many keywords appeared on that page's code. That field got heavily abused by websites that were trying to rank for any and every keyword you can imagine. They would also try and rank for competitors' keywords, like their brand names and that sort of thing. So because of that abuse, search engines eventually devalued the meta tag keyword field to the point where it is not read anymore. Now, certainly that field still exists within the back end of the pages on your Volusion store. Some people really like to use it for organizing their keywords so they know which pages are targeting which phrases. But we would argue that by putting anything in that field, you're giving your competition a direct line to what kind of keywords you're trying to target. So we'd recommend leaving those fields entirely blank. Your title tag and your meta description are going to be more important for optimizing for keywords specifically.
So we've got a question here. Could you give an example of what I'd add to the title tag, meta description, URL, and photo alt text field? And Jacob touched on this. You want your title tag, your URL, and your photo alt text fields to have keywords included. Your meta description should be more like, as he said, the elevator pitch for that page. Users who look at your listing on search results pages are going to see your title tag and your meta description. So a title tag could be, say we've got the running shoes example again, running shoes for orthopedic problems. And then you could put the name of your store or another keyword phrase that comes up for a general overarching encompassing of your store. The meta description could include what they're going to find on that page specifically, as well as any unique selling points that your store has. And then the URL, you want it to be pretty succinct and just include as many keywords as necessary to get that general understanding of what people will find on the page.
Yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit more, but I just wanted to describe what you're seeing on your screen right now. These are the tools that we had talked about earlier and some blog posts from our Volusion blog that we think would be helpful for you. These aren't clickable links right now. We will release the slide deck so you can refer back to these in the future, and then you can check out these articles and tools. But certainly if you want to do a quick Google search for any of these tools, they will pop up. So feel free to give those a look while we're talking through this. So as we said, the meta description is more of your elevator pitch. It's longer form. It's going to be maybe 2 to 3 sentences. This is where you really just want to encourage people to come and click on your website versus anybody else's. Title tags, be specific. If you have, if you're working on a category page, and we're kind of harping on the running shoes example, but let's say that you have a title tag for a landing page that deals with running shoes for long distance. You want to make sure that that title tag includes a keyword related to that. You're treating it as an introduction to the page. It should be no surprise to customers and search engines what they can expect to find if they land on that page. So it's going to be shorter and much more succinct, maybe only 2 upwards or maybe 3 keywords fitting into that field to describe what people can expect to find.
Okay. It's just the one line of text you'll see on search results pages for each result that shows up.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic, one tool that we really like to use to get a visual representation of what a title tag or meta description is going to look like before we actually change it on site is called Portent, P-O-R-T-E-N-T. Their SERP optimizer, S-E-R-P, which stands for Search Engine Results Page, I'm sorry. This will give you a visual representation of what your listing might look like if it were appearing in a search result. You can do a Google search for any kind of SERP tool, and you should get a couple that pop up, but the Portent tool is up to date, and it's a really good one to use.
Yeah, it shows you exactly where your text will cut off if you've written too much. It shows how much space you have, so you use as much of that really valuable real estate as possible. So we got a question, how do I prioritize if I have a lot of products? That's a really good point. Some stores have, hundreds of products, and it's difficult to go through each one, but I recommend doing batches, just taking a few at a time, and whether it's all within a specific category. Jacob touched on the fact that your products can have similar keywords to optimize for on product pages, and just, if it's a simple color variation or another small variation, just having that modifying adjective as part of your keyword phrase will be enough to help search engines understand the differences between the pages. So I would just say do it in batches, whatever you're able to do, and take it from there just over time. SEO is a really long-term process, so it's not like you're ever really finished. It's a continuation of, optimizing and re-optimizing over time.
Here's a good one. How many keywords should my site be targeting for visibility on Google? I would encourage you to take this down to the specific page. If you look at this on a page-by-page basis, you'll get a better understanding. As we said earlier, 3 to 5 keywords per page is a good best practice to make sure that you're being descriptive enough about what is on the page without potentially diluting your focus in keyword targeting, and also you're not using a keyword that you might have a better spot for somewhere else on the website. So break it down on a page-by-page basis, and that'll help you understand how many keywords you ought to be optimizing for.
So we've got a question, what if my homepage has featured products? Would that change my keywords? No, the featured products will not have any effect on the keywords you optimize for your homepage. As we said, you want your homepage to have the broad keyword phrases that encompass your entire site, but are still specific to your site. So just having your homepage optimized to the phrase, running shoes or something really general wouldn't do a lot, because there's thousands of other websites selling running shoes. You want to include what makes your site unique and encompass that into your homepage optimization.
We should mention that Google can read any plain text that's on your website. So most websites have a featured product scroll that defaults to showing 4, and then as you refresh the page, it shows different featured products. Let's say that you only had 4 pages listed as featured products. Google can see those product titles, but it's going to look more specifically at the title tag of your homepage, the meta description you're using, any kind of header tags you have on that page, and the content that you've written for that page. So it certainly knows that those product titles are there, but it's not going to change the root focus of your keywords for that page. Let's see, there's 2 here that I think we can probably lump into one answer. The first one is, how does keyword research differ for a B2B business? And then also, if people search for part numbers in my industry, should I use that as a keyword? So let's answer the part numbers part first here. Yes, definitely use part numbers as a keyword. Katie touched on this a little bit. If you were, for example, a wholesale business, chances are you are looking for specific product models, specific product numbers, that sort of thing. You're not as interested in the e-commerce side of things. And the same applies to B2B. We're not necessarily looking for people that are in that sort of investigative level of keyword research. They pretty much know what they need, they know what they want. That doesn't mean that you should avoid creating category pages to naturally segment your products and segment your keywords, but you're more focused there on getting to those buyer-ready people.
So yeah, whatever is getting search volume, you want to be sure you're optimizing for that term if it applies to your page.
What else do we have here?
Someone's asking for an example of where custom design graphics could be used. Those are part of our promotions until the end of this week, actually, just tomorrow. And they can be used wherever makes sense for your site. Maybe you have a homepage slideshow that you want to get some updated graphics for social media posts. If you want to highlight them on your social media profiles, make them your cover photo on a Facebook page, optimize them or use them on your category pages. If you're sending out newsletters, these graphics are really able to be used anywhere. So it's a really great opportunity to get an added bonus out of that.
Can you see your competitors' keywords easily, and if so, how? Yes, you can. So just by going to a competitor's website and looking at the navigation structure they have, the different categories that they're using, we can immediately tell what sort of categorization of products are important to them. You can also look at their title tags. If you have any kind of tab open in a browser, the title of that tab is a reflection of the title tag for that page in question. Also, you can check the on-page text for any kind of landing page. Not every website utilizes on-page text, but if they do and they have a paragraph or two that explains product benefits and how the products work, those are going to naturally include some of the keywords that they're targeting. And you can usually spot them with a little bit of practice to tell how they are incorporating them into the context of the page. So definitely not as difficult as it sounds. And we'd shown some examples where we looked mostly at how pages were categorized to determine what kind of keywords they might be going after. And you can use that same logic when you're looking at your competitors as well.
So we've got a question, if my products are going in and out of stock regularly, is SEO a long-term strategy for me? And the answer is definitely yes. We talked a little bit about specialized industries and took the example of e-cigarette stores having batches of e-liquids that are, going out of stock regularly and then they're not replenished. So that's a great example of a store that can optimize for category pages around that specific type of product. So find what makes sense for your industry in terms of just a specific category grouping of what those products fall under, and then create one or more landing pages to optimize for them there, rather than optimizing products that then are just removed from your site.
Here's a question, should I include an exact size in my title tag? For example, size 9.5 running shoes. If you don't have your product page, let's say you have a running shoe website, but you don't have your product pages set up as options within one particular product, then certainly yes. Utilizing sizing is a great way to differentiate between different products that you have. Some websites will utilize size as different drop-down options, so that naturally removes some of the need to do that, but you're on the right track there.
Someone asked, what's the difference between a keyword and a keyword phrase? We kind of use them back and forth and throughout our slideshow, and basically you want to use keyword phrases, you know, long tail, multiple words. You want it to be as specific as possible. So they kind of mean the same thing throughout our presentation, but the keyword phrase is important. Just try to keep it as specific as possible for the page you're working on.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one to get confused. And it's just industry jargon for us to say keywords, and we inherently mean something that's, you know, 3-4 words long. Because single word keywords, you don't even want to spend time trying to optimize for them. They're far too broad. To piggyback a little bit off of what we were talking about earlier with looking at competitor keywords, can I use view page source to see competitor keywords? You certainly can. This will allow you to see the title tag of that page, the meta description, any kind of on-page optimization they have. So if you are a little bit more tech savvy and know what you're looking at, the page source can help you see any kind of keywords they might be optimizing for on that particular page.
So we've got a question, how do subcategories work with the 3-click rule? I think you're meaning, you know, from the home page, you want to make it possible to get to product pages within 3 clicks. I think it depends so much on your site, how many products you're offering and what makes sense in terms of the structure of your site. You want users to be able to clearly find what they're looking for through as few clicks as possible, but sometimes that may mean adding that additional level of category to make things clear. So whatever makes the most sense for your site, just use your best judgment, and ideally you'll have drop-down boxes that, you know, are clear to see and help users get to that product page, even if it's, you know, after your subcategory pages.
Yeah, the three-click rule is a best practice in the suggestion, but as Katie was saying, there's certainly instances where your site is going to be far too big and require far too much categorization to do it within 3 clicks. Really, the idea is to keep the process streamlined, make it very intuitive and natural to move from homepage to category page to specific product or grouping of products and that type of thing. What else do we have here? How long does it take for Google to see changes I make on my site? Google crawls your site all the time. As to whether or not it prioritizes those changes above a different website is really hard to say. There are a variety of different factors that go into where it places the importance on a website, whether that's how long you've been online, so website authority, if you're a trusted resource within the industry, so are other people out there talking about you, mentioning you in blog posts, talking about you on social media, these types of things. Do you offer any kind of supplementary marketing, such as pay-per-click advertising to increase your footprint online? Do you have a trusted brand? Are you a resource for the industry? So it's really hard to say, and it is a case-by-case basis. But the more you do it, the more time you send, the more you do it, and by that I mean the more times you optimize a website, the more frequently you're sending these signals to Google saying, hey, we're here, we are trying to optimize our website for customers, please come take a look. So definitely, you know, keep at this. This is an ongoing process.
Another question, does the order of words in a keyword matter? So you just want your keyword to make sense. If a user is reading it on your site within a paragraph of text, you want it to flow naturally. Weave it into what text you already have on that page. So yeah, whatever makes the most sense that you see is getting volume and in terms of competition volume and relevancy for your page. But you will want it to make sense naturally within your text.
The one thing I want to do just to clarify that a little bit further is semantic indexing is a process that search engines use to realize that while you might say one particular phrase, you mean all things that are related to that phrase. So if you did women's running shoes, and then you did running shoes for women, they're very closely related. Search engines can understand that they can probably associate your website with both of these phrases. So when you're considering the wording or the order of words on your keywords, try to keep them natural, try to keep them within, the way that somebody might organize their keyword search. But if you have, for example, t-shirts and you use t-shirts with a hyphen as opposed to spelling out T with T-E-E, search engines understand that those are both within the same realm. They understand the semantics are associated with each other. We have time for one more keyword. We got a couple more. Which one should we?
One more question.
Yeah. Sorry, one more question. I've said keywords so many times today. Let's see. Can one product fall into multiple categories? Certainly, if it makes sense. You're going to have the best judgment to determine whether or not the keyword should be focused, a product can be focused in one section of the website or multiple ones. I would say think about it logically. Would people naturally associate this product with a variety of different categories or product groupings, and then make that judgment for yourself? Certainly, I think a lot of products can probably fall into maybe two categories, but it just comes down to how are you categorizing your website and what's going to be the most important for the way that the site flows.
And that's all we've got for today. Thank you all so much for joining and for sending all those really great questions. We hope this is valuable for you, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you all so much.